Hi everyone, how's everybody doing? Okay, I've got 5 stories for you today. We're on a bit of a marathon, but before I get into the stories, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who gave me feedback. I've been trying different formats how to present these stories every Saturday morning, and it seems a majority of you do like having a kind of background imagery going on in the background. I left myself out of the video completely last week. Some people wrote in and said, look, it's not so personal if you're not in the video. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and mix it up and do it this way one week and maybe the other way the next week. And for those people out there who just like the static background of a waterfall or something like that, I'll slip one of them in occasionally as well, okay? Just to try and keep everybody happy. Okay, as I say, 5 stories. Let's get straight into the first of 5.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Back in 2007, I was in my early 30s and on a backpacking trip to the Philippines. The trip itself had been great. It was a beautiful country and I had a very chilled out time island hopping. My only negative experience up until this point was weeks earlier when I first arrived. Some teenage gangster wannabe had approached me at a road crossing, showed me a gun tucked into his waistband and suggested I go somewhere quiet. Yeah, right, that's not going to happen. Never leave the safety of a crowd. I laughed in his face and I just walked straight into a shopping mall. In those days, they all had armed guards and metal detectors at all the entrances, so no way he could follow me in. I tell this part of the story only to show that I am a fairly streetwise and not easily intimidated person. Anyway, I had just flown back into Manila from down south. I had thought it best to give myself a bit of leeway in my schedule in case of transport issues, so I had a few days to kill in Manila before my flight home to the UK. At this point in my life, I did not drink alcohol and not interested in the nightlife, so my whole time was spent exploring the city, just absorbing it, taking it all in. People in Manila are in the main very friendly, from the scammers and hustlers on the Baywalk to the old guys trying to challenge me to chess matches in Rizal Park. Loads of people approach me, but it's all low key and I never feel threatened. I was in Rizal Park on my last day when the heavens opened and I had to run for cover. I found myself in a nearby shopping centre called Robinson's Place, and that's where the con began. I was hanging about in the shopping mall, drying off, when I was approached by an elderly lady who initiated a conversation by talking about my t-shirt. At the time, I was a member of a martial arts gym back home and I was wearing the club shirt. You know, the usual tacky things, gym name and a picture of boxing gloves. She said she was in the mall to meet her niece and would I like to join them for a coffee. The niece apparently wanted to learn some martial arts moves and any tips I could give would be greatly appreciated. This was the first warning sign that I thought was quite odd that an elderly lady would approach me, but I thought I might as well go with the flow. It's probably harmless enough and travel is all about connecting with new people. We sat down and had coffee and the niece turned up. She was called Anna, was perhaps mid-20s, good looking and modestly dressed in jeans and t-shirt. We chatted for maybe 30 or 40 minutes, all going really well. The aunt led the conversation, but Anna got more and more involved, and in the end, she was beginning to flirt with me. I couldn't really work out what was happening here. Was the aunt trying to give out her niece to me? Were they just being friendly? Conversation turned to martial arts, which the aunt suggested I teach Anna some moves. Apparently, they lived only 10 minutes away, and in return for my time, she would cook me some dinner. Again, this didn't feel quite right. But was I just being paranoid? I decided to go with the flow again and I figured it was worth it to experience Filipino hospitality. In the taxi, Anna sat next to me, making sure there was an occasional physical contact between us. I had decided that if this was anything untoward, it was most likely to involve pay for play with Anna. However, I knew that wasn't going to happen as I had about $10 on me and no bank cards. I know better than to go wandering with large quantities of cash. We reached their house. It was more like 20 minutes rather than 10. I would say it was a middle-class home, a bit cluttered, but clean. The second I arrived, I was greeted by the uncle and instantly knew I'd been set up. Uncle was a little man, maybe in his 50s. He had a few black teeth, smelled of alcohol, and generally had an air of arrogance. Immediately, I started to plan my exit strategy. I was close enough to the door if I had to run for it. The only physical threat was the uncle. I figured he was no real danger to me. I could easily get past him. There were plenty of items lying around that I could use as weapons if I needed to fight my way out. Even if they had one, there was no way they would risk using a gun in their own home. So I decided that it would be best if I politely stayed for 10 minutes and made some excuses and left. No harm, no loss of face, no need for violence. Once I had done this mental risk assessment, I relaxed again. What happened next was like something out of a bad hustler movie. Uncle proceeded to weave a tale about how he was a VIP card dealer at one of the local casinos and how he had the skills and sleight of hands to manipulate the game as long as he had a partner player on the other side. His story was full of BS. The game was called poker something. He offered to show me just how easy it was to win at this. I told him I was not interested and never gambled. I probably told him it was against my religious beliefs or similar. The skill of the aunt and Anna to lure me here was exceptional. Flattery, flirting and friendliness, all deployed to manipulate me into this situation. All very subtle, all low key. The uncle was the exact opposite, a useless buffoon who charged in headfirst and couldn't read the situation at all. Surely a good con man should be able to change a story or improvise when things start to unravel. Within a few minutes, he had gone from being a potential threat to being comedy gold. Poor guy kept trying to show me the card game. I kept totally ignoring him and talking to the aunt, who in turn kept trying to persuade me to play cards. I knew if I engaged with him, it would be harder to get out of the situation, and my goal was to still get out of this in a polite, civilized way. Anna had vanished, her part in the charade completed. Aunt had sussed that I knew what was happening, but had to keep pretending otherwise. Uncle blundered on. Obviously, this was beyond farcical by now. I knew the next part of this scam already, and had a few minutes later, it played out as I expected. On cue, a Miss Lim from Singapore turned up at the door. A tallish lady, maybe in her 40s, and she did actually look and sound Singaporean. Turns out she was a keen card player and was here to gamble. What a surprise. Come on, would anybody really believe that a high roller from Singapore would choose to gamble in some suburban house rather than a legit casino? Miss Lim proceeded to flash an envelope stuffed with apparently 20k USD, although I could see it was one genuine $50 bill on top of a stack of some other currency. The different size of the banknotes was the giveaway. I think the scam was supposed to work this way. Uncle to teach me how to play cards and show me I couldn't lose. Miss Lim was supposed mark flashing the cash to appeal to my greed. We would play together with Uncle as the crooked dealer. In some bizarre turn of events, she would win and I'd owe her a lot of money. Miss Lim was playing her part pretty well, but she hadn't realised that the scam had already fallen apart when I refused to even look at the cards or really speak with the uncle. I was really beginning to enjoy myself now. This was such an absurd situation to be in. I was tempted to stick around to watch Uncle and Miss Lim pretend to play cards for my amusement, but no point in pushing my luck too far. No point in making people lose face and getting angry. I spoke to the aunt and politely suggested that now would be a good time for me to go back to the mall where she found me. She knew it was a busted flush, as it were, so was only too happy to escort me out of the house and point me in the right direction of the main road. Looking back on this 17 years later, I still like to trust people and have been invited into many homes all over the world and not had any negative experiences in these meetings that make travel so rewarding, so I'm glad I didn't let one bad event stop me from living this way. My scam radar is finely tuned these days, but maybe I am a touch too paranoid. I should have paid more attention to the early warning sign. Instead, I allowed myself to get into this situation that could have turned nasty. The aunt was the skilled operator, but she made the one big mistake in picking me as the mark. I had no real money and no bank cards. So there you go. I've heard about this scam several times, and there's sometimes a quite twist on it. It's quite a familiar scam in China, where if you're walking in a park, a couple of pretty ladies will approach you and say they're trying to speak English, and then the conversation kind of diverts into why don't we go for a drink somewhere, and it's all pre-planned, and they're in cahoots with the tea room or coffee shop, whatever it is, and you're just ordering coffee and a few biscuits and things, and then you get a massive bill, and if you don't pay it, there's heavies on the door. It's never kind of failed to amaze me why guys go off with strangers in this way. For me personally, if I want to do something, I'll go and do it. If somebody approaches me and says, somebody I don't know what that is, let's go and this similar sort of thing that happened in this story, I would just politely decline. I just wouldn't go with them, because it always means trouble, doesn't it? Or most of the time anyway. Okay, let's jump into story number 2. I recently sent you a few stories within a story which described my first 3 visits to Thailand, the most recent concluding with my move to Jomtien. What I didn't do was offer my takeaways from these experiences, both for myself and for your viewers. As a 60-something US native who works out and dresses relatively stylishly, despite the heat, sporty t-shirts or tropical short-sleeve button shirts, stylish coloured denim shorts, sharp trainers, my evolution from weekend millionaire to permanent resident could prove helpful for both newbies and old hands. My first couple of vacations to Thailand were mostly spent in central Pattaya and Hua Hin. I didn't really approach women in Bangkok, as most of the girls there are coming and going from work, appear to be of Chinese Thai ancestry. Not a bad thing, but my tastes lean towards the Isan girls, and in my case tend to be mostly on the BTS or MRT. In the beach cities, I didn't use dating apps since central Pattaya is teeming with pretty girls. I asked the ones I was attracted to for their line IDs, and 95% of the time was given them regardless of whether they were 22 or 42. Very un-US. Our second meetings were always in my hotel room, though in Hua Hin, maybe because the property was smaller and only had stairs, maybe because of the owner, a YouTuber, has a more direct interaction with her guests. I never brought girls back with me. There, I only had aerobics in the upstairs quarters of massage spots. As previously stated, both women were probably in their early 40s, but gorgeous, friendly and tanned. One of the first things I noticed about Isan women is their wit and humour. Now that I live here, I don't necessarily hit on every woman who appeals to me. One reason is I'm no longer in a hotel, so I'm careful about who comes to the condo. A few of the women I date I knew before I found my own place, so I vetted their temperaments and their personalities, preferences or talents. Where I live in Jomtien, exterior security staff keep guests' IDs while they visit. I found that some girls I knew in central Pattaya considered Jomtien too far to visit. Here are some things I've observed with both beneficial friends and repeat freelancers. When you first meet a Thai woman of 22 to 45, if you speak a little Thai or say something like you live here, it's assumed you've had or you have a Thai girlfriend. Almost every girl has asked how much my studio rents for monthly. If my texts are brief, many Thai women say I'm either not interested or busy. Some even imply they are bothering me. When girls invite me on trips, they are always to islands Koh Larn or Koh Samet. Never assume a Thai girl you see working a job will be there for the entire vacation or stay. Girls I met during my first 2 visits sometimes went home to their villages or northern Thailand towns to help family with sick or injured children, or because Pattaya was experiencing low season. I can tell you they weren't lying or still nearby from the photos they text me and their absence from their jobs. Most of your audience already knows most Thai girls who work afternoon or evening sleep quite late. They also eat regardless of time of day or recency of previous meal, and generous with compliments about male appearance, and don't tend to have travelled outside of Thailand. Simple dates suffice. Thai food in a food court. Mall trips without actual shopping, live music outdoors. The women I met are not only honest about having children if they do, the children are often quite visible on their line profile pages or smartphones. Few questions are asked about your home country or previous relationships, or in some cases, work. I'm mostly retired. Admissions of being a single male are generally regarded with disbelief. Photographic evidence or walk-in observation of me with other women is usually met with jealousy and exaggerated seriousness of the other relationship. And women who carry themselves in the street are often adventurous with foreign men. I found this to be true of other Asian cultures, aerobics reserved for privacy. Also very non-US. Horses for courses, but if a guy plans to stay here for the duration or at least test the long-term waters, what works for me, are an open mind, the fact that the girls know I neither drink nor go to the bars, an attitude that implies that pretty women are plentiful here without saying so. And a ton of line ideas because Thai girls have so few days off work. It's interesting for a Yank to see how many girls I know here have their line ID, photos filtered to make their complexions appear lighter. On the whole, I found Thai girls to be generous, laid back, very in the moment. Is this because the culture is Buddhist? That explains the motorbike bravado. Super clean, showers when they arrive, showers before they leave, hard-working, though not frugal, charming and often late without texting. Why? If an expat doesn't speak really strong Thai, it's helpful to know a few Thai women, even if you like them romantically, as friends who can interpret your utility bills or other documents, ensure fair pricing at markets, inform you about the culture and invite you to parties and events. Pro tip. This isn't the West. A lot more of the sales girls, hotel staff and nurses are single more than you think. Leave preconceived notions in your country of origin, have respectful fun and don't fall head over heels in love with the first person you meet when you get off the plane. Try not to get too serious about someone who wouldn't get serious about you if she were in the Western Europe, Canada, Australia or the US. And beware that with these women, a little attention to grooming goes a long way. Chokdi, guys. Okay, so some advice there from somebody who's been here a while. What I would say, though, if you come here and you intend to meet a girl and you go on the dating apps, do be prepared for somebody who looks totally different to turn up from the photograph. I've spoke to a lot of guys who they've dated online, Tinder, Badoo, those sort of places, and they've spotted a real nice girl on there, arranged to meet her, and when she's turned up, she's been kind of 10 years older or quite a lot overweight or something. So, you know, it's not a surprise when they often turn up like that. Right, straight into story number three. Hello, Peter. I'm 27 years old man from Eastern Europe and I work a regular day job. I want to live and work from different places around the world and Thailand seems like a great place for that. My friends and I found cheap tickets and decided to visit Thailand for the first time. My main goal was to see if I could live in Thailand in the future, working from my laptop, and I also wanted to meet Thai women because I find them attractive. I set a personal challenge to spend a night with a Thai woman without paying for her company. Although I completed this challenge, things got a little complicated later. The women I met didn't ask for money, but things didn't end perfectly, which I'll talk about later. We arrived in Bangkok and I love the hot weather, cheap food, 7-Eleven stores, rooftop pools and the nightlife. But not everything was great. On the first night we saw a ping pong show. It was funny, but I didn't really like it and I wouldn't pay 300 baht to see another. We only stayed in Bangkok for 3 days, visiting places, shopping and enjoying the nightlife. During this time I paid for a Thai woman for a massage and everything that goes with it. She asked for 2,000 baht, which was quite expensive, but I didn't know that at the time. I also used a dating app to meet someone without involving money exchange. By the way, here are some tips I learned if you want to meet girls online in Thailand. Use good quality photos and dress well. Most tourists just wear ugly shorts and tank tops. Get a nice watch, jeans, shorts and put a white shirt over your tank top and you'll look 10 times better than before. Get a premium account on the dating app so you can talk to more women. Set your age preferences and like everyone at first. You can choose later from those who you like and you want to talk to them again. Start with a friendly message. I would say you're the cutest girl I've matched with today and have a heart emoji. Then ask if she's a ladyboy or a freelancer and what her job is. If everything checks out, you can start planning the first date. Remember, it's a numbers game. If you're traveling to different cities, start looking for girls before you arrive and look for large amounts of girls. Some are trolling, some will not meet you and some cancel plans. Have backup girls so you won't end up without finding any. But now back to my story. So my first days in Thailand, we were in Bangkok. In Bangkok, I went on a date with a woman who worked at a hospital. We had drinks and played pool, but she didn't want to go further than a kiss on the first date. I never met her again since that was my last night in Bangkok for the rest of the trip. I realised I should have started looking for dates before leaving my country because now I am getting a lot of good matches in Bangkok. What a shame. Anyway, we left from Bangkok to the island. I don't want to mention which one it was, where we spent most of the vacation enjoying food, beaches and the nightlife. The last few days of vacation we spent in Pattaya, which was even cheaper and had a great beach nightlife. In Pattaya, I met a girl in Soi 6 and planned to meet her the next day for some fun, since I learned that Thai bar girls provide an amazing service from my first experience in Bangkok. But then before I could arrange a date with the Soi 6 bar girl, I matched with another girl on Tinder. She was not a freelance and looked amazing, though she had some obvious plastic surgery on her face and chest. She also had a full back tattoo and expensive clothes, which now I think were paid for by sugar daddies. She met before meeting me. Jumping a little ahead, and after talking with her for a few weeks after the end of my vacation, I got a feeling that she is a former bar girl who found enough rich sugar daddies to allow her to buy expensive stuff and still have time to travel all over Thailand, or maybe she is visiting them, who knows, but constantly goes to another city and posts it on Instagram. Back to meeting her for the first time. We met for drinks, played pool and ended up spending the night together at her hotel. She never asked for money, not even in the morning after the night spent in her hotel room. I heard sometimes the girls do this, but only thing she wanted in the morning was to have some more aerobics with me. The next day, I hung out with my friends and met her again in the evening. We had a drink, then went to her hotel. I paid for our drinks, which was about 1,000 baht in total for both nights. She didn't ask, but I didn't mind, as what she returned in the bedroom was excellent. After I returned home, we kept in touch. She asked me not to see other women, and I agreed as long as she didn't see other men. First 1 to 2 weeks everything went well, but later she became distant and went to parties often. I got suspicious and made a fake Tinder account only to find her active there. We broke up after that. Despite the ups and downs, I love Thailand and plan to return. My advice: don't forget about basic stuff like not leaving your drink unattended or not asking for a taxi price before getting in just because the Thai people look nicer. Just don't forget the basic safety rules you know from your country and you will be fine. But as a first-time traveller, I probably am not qualified to give a lot of advice. There are far more experienced guys in the stories. The only thing I'd say on that story, he says always check the price before you get in the taxi, but what I would say to you is don't ask them for a price. By law they should put on the meter, so if you get into a taxi and it has a meter, which it should do by law, just tell him where you want to go, and if he doesn't put the meter on, just get out of the taxi again. It's as simple as that. They're cracking down on it. It's mainly in the tourist areas, Silom, Sukhumvit, those sort of areas. They just try it on, and eventually you will get a good guy who'll turn the meter on. Okay, right, let's jump straight into our second last story, number 4. I spent the day with my friend and his Thai girlfriend at the fish market in Pattaya, which is a great place to visit and eat. You can pick your own seafood and they'll prepare it for you. When I returned to the hotel, I went for a swim in the pool, then to my room to check out my Thai friendly account. One lady quickly messaged me saying she could arrive in 30 minutes. I negotiated 1,300 baht with her. I went downstairs to the lobby and waited for her arrival. It was now early evening and there were plenty of foreigners hanging out drinking beers, as well as the hotel staff hanging around and working. My girl showed up with another lady in tow. They were in their early 30s and each rated a 7 out of 10. My girl introduced herself, I'll call her Girl 1, as well as her friend, Girl 2. She asked if her friend could come upstairs for an extra 1,000 baht. I agreed without hesitation. Girl 1 put my arm around her and Girl 2 grabbed my hand as we walked across the lobby to the elevator, where every foreign eye was on us as well as the staff. I guess it's something they don't see every day. Anyway, once in the room, we undressed and I got busy with Girl 2 while Girl 1 gently rubbed her hand up and down my back. After a while, I switched and got busy with Girl 1 and Girl 2 would caress me. Girl 2 being more sensuous than Girl 1. After about 40 minutes of going back and forth, we finished and I discovered I was totally soaked in sweat. The ladies went to the shower and I grabbed a cold beer from the fridge. I asked if they wanted a beer and they said they wanted to drink downstairs in the lobby. I said great, grabbed some shrimp I'd bought earlier as well as a few cold beers. We took a table in the lobby and sat around chit-chatting. Girl 1 was peeling the shrimp for us and Girl 2 got some salad from a food cart. We drank beer and snacked and just sort of hung out for an hour or so. A friend of theirs stopped by on her scooter and joined us at the table. Her face was average, but she had a knockout hourglass body. She and I chatted for a bit, and I thought she was kind of checking me out. Girl 1 then suggested we all go to the beach. The scooter girl would meet us there while we walked the 2 blocks. Girl 2 held my hand while Girl 1 walked alongside us. At the beach we rented a blanket and sat there talking. It was peaceful, pleasant setting. The scooter girl, however, called saying she couldn't find a parking space nearby and wouldn't be showing up. After a while we left the sand and the ladies said they'd spend the night in my room for 1,000 baht each. I said I could do 500 baht each as I wasn't really bothered. They walked with me towards my hotel but spotted another fellow that Girl 1 said she knew. Those two chatted a bit while Girl 2 was looking at some clothes for sale. I started to walk back by myself and Girl 1 said they were going to visit with her friend, so we called it a night and settled up. The next morning Girl 1 called wanting to meet again. She also said she could bring a third lady whom I guessed was a scooter girl. I explained to her that I was leaving for Bangkok at 12 noon, so couldn't meet. She was rather persistent, but I already had my Bangkok plans in place. Since leaving Thailand, I haven't heard back from them and don't know what they've been up to. I enjoyed meeting those two ladies. They made for a satisfying experience, one that I think about often and one of many in Thailand, the land of smiles. It seems like he did things the right way. You get so many guys who go on holiday to Pattaya and they fall in love with a bar girl and it all goes, you know how it goes, all these stories. And he went, had a good time, paid for his services and left with a big smile on his face. Okay, let's go into our fifth and final story today. I am a 34-year-old software engineer from San Francisco. I have always been fascinated by the allure of Thailand. I had heard countless stories about the vibrant culture, delicious food, and of course, the infamous nightlife of Bangkok. After years of saving and planning, I finally booked a trip to explore the land of smiles for myself. Upon arriving in Bangkok, I was overwhelmed by the city's energy. The bustling streets, the street food and the neon lights of Sukhumvit Road all blew me away. On my second night, curious about the famed nightlife, I wanted to go into a go-go bar in Nana Plaza. The atmosphere was electric with loud music, flashing lights and dancers on stage. One dancer in particular caught my eye. Her name was Mott. Unlike the others, she seemed to have an outstanding natural beauty. She noticed me too and during her break came over to me. We started chatting, I bought her a lady's drink and I was surprised by her excellent English and genuine interest in my life. I learned that she was 28 years old, originally from a small village in Isan and had come to Bangkok to support her family. Over the next few days I found myself returning to the bar, not for the nightlife but to see Mott. We began spending time outside the bar exploring the city, sharing meals and learning about each other's cultures and lives. I admired Mott's resilience and dedication to her family. As the days turned into weeks, our relationship grew stronger. I extended my trip and we started discussing the future. Now I know viewers will call me stupid for dating a go-go dancer, but Mott was upfront about her work and I respected her honesty, plus she was fun to be with. I could see beyond her work in the bar and recognized her intelligence, warmth and strengths. When it was time for me to return to San Francisco, I couldn't bear the thought of leaving Mott behind. I proposed to her and she tearfully accepted. We decided to take our time to make sure that the relationship would work. I visited Thailand frequently over the next year. We faced challenges, especially with the cultural differences and the stigma surrounding Mott's past job. But we communicated openly, supporting each other through every hurdle. Mott's family saw me as a stable and supportive partner for her. I'm not sure if they knew she was a dancer in a go-go bar or not. After a year of long distance and multiple visits, we decided to marry. I eventually managed to get Mott a visa and I went back to Bangkok to bring Mott back to San Francisco. Although adjusting to a new life was difficult, Mott thrived with my support. Although her English was pretty good, she enrolled in English classes, which I gladly paid for as she wanted to speak perfect English. I continued working in software development. Mott made friends with several Thai girls who were also married to foreigners and living in the San Francisco Bay Area. We had 2 children and frequently visited Thailand to maintain our connection with Mott's family. My family really liked Mott. They thought she was a real nice girl and my mother treated her like a daughter. She would often help my mum clean the house or do other chores. Mott's story wasn't a fairy tale. It was filled with real life challenges, cultural adjustments, and personal growth. But our love, respect, and commitment to each other made our relationship work. We built a life together, proving that love could indeed conquer all. Even in the most unlikely of circumstances, I will end this story by saying, yes, I'm not naive. I was very, very lucky. We've heard so many of these stories where guys meet bar girls, get ripped off, or get played with other guys. I wouldn't recommend looking for love in a go-go bar, but again, as I said, I think I was extremely lucky. It could have gone the other way. So there you go. I mean, you do hear occasionally these stories that work out, like the guy says. I mean, it's not that you shouldn't go looking for a long-term relationship in a go-go bar or even a beer bar. But there was a story a few months ago about the guy who married in Phuket. He married a freelancer. She'd been working for 8 years as a freelancer. He didn't know anything until he came to Thailand, but it worked out, and they've now been married nearly 14 years. So it does happen occasionally, but it is rare. But nice story. I'm glad it worked out for him. I would have liked a little bit more detail. It was quite short, but a good story anyway. Right, that's it from me once again, guys. Thanks for listening. Now, I just want to remind you that I put out live streams every other Sunday. I did one last Sunday, so there won't be one tomorrow, but there will be one the following night. We have a lot of fun. We talk about everything. You can come in and leave your comments, and if they're interesting, I'll discuss what you want to talk about. I put them at 8 o'clock Thai time. That's next Sunday, and then I do the members stream about an hour and a half after that, actually. So I hope you can join me for the live stream. If not, I'll be back next Saturday with some more stories. Thanks for joining me again, and you have a good week.